It's a pleasant winter's afternoon. Jenny and her two boys are driving home after a Saturday morning rugby game. Everything's as it would be on any other day. But what if, just for a moment, Jenny is distracted by something? Let's see what could so easily happen.
Mommy, what's it?
It's not about blaming drivers for the devastation of a crash. It's about asking what we could have done differently to reduce that devastation. What components can we improve to make the system more forgiving so that mistakes don't cost lives or limbs? It's not just about being reactive, it's about being proactive and asking how we can reduce risk. There are 4 areas the SAFE system focuses on road users, on our roads and roadsides, on our vehicles, and on the speeds we drive at. Let's return to Jenny and her children now and take a look at what went wrong. Was her moment of inattention the sole cause of this tragedy? Let's see how a SAFE system would interpret it.
Jenny was probably a good driver, driving on a familiar road, thought nothing would happen. She may have been distracted given what else was going on in the car, and she may have even been a little fatigued given her responsibilities as a mother.
She drifted out of her traffic lane, across the narrow sealed shoulder and into the gravel. Instinctively, she jerked the steering wheel to the right. She crossed the centre line. At that point, she tried to correct, but by now she was out of control and sliding towards the power pole. She struck the power pole on the driver's A-pillar, on the right-hand side of the car, at impact speeds possibly in excess.
Is alive or safe at the time of impact. What that meant is that when she collided, any safety feature in the car that was working was little Toby's car seat, and that helped keep him alive.
Jenny was travelling on a road legally signposted at 100 kilometres an hour, giving her the impression that 100 kilometres an hour was fine. Her speed meant that her moment of distraction got her into serious trouble. Things happened too quickly for her to control. She hit that power pole with such force, the chances of serious injury or death were very high. A SAFE system would have saved Jenny's life and freed Jack from his life in a wheelchair. When every element of a SAFE system is strong and working well, the chances of death or serious injury decrease greatly. If we work backwards now, we can see how this particular tragedy might have been averted. If the speed limit on the road was an enforced 80 kilometres an hour instead of 100, or if Jenny had been driving slower, her car would have hit the pole 20 kilometres an hour slower, or she might not have hit it at all. That would have given her and her boys some survival room.
If there had been a rumble strip along the edge line of that road, then that would have alerted Jenny to the fact that she was drifting out of her traffic lane, at which point she could have had the opportunity to correct her path. If there had been a wider shoulder, somewhere in the order of 1 metre, then Jenny would have had time to correct her path before she drifted into the gravel and lost control.
We could ask ourselves, what if Jenny's car had a 4 or 5 star safety rating? So unlike the car behind me that doesn't even have airbags, a car with a higher safety rating will have airbags, crumple zone. It would have likely had curtain airbags that prevent the occupants' heads from coming into contact with the A-pillars or the windows inside the car. We'll have electronic stability control that may have prevented the crash from occurring in the first place. If you couple that with a lower speed before the collision occurs, it means the crash is just that much more survivable for everyone.
Here's what happens to a modern 5-star car in a head-on crash. Airbags deploy and the passenger cell stays intact. Compare that to a 3-star car. This is actually a little safer than Jenny's, but still the passenger compartment starts to collapse, putting the driver at risk of severe chest and leg injuries. The windscreen pops out, and the dashboard is forced back into the passenger space. To see how far things have come, look what happens to a supposedly rock-solid 1959 Chevrolet. And how its modern counterpart fares in the same crash. If the car had been fitted with electronic stability control, it would probably have detected the skid and automatically applied the brakes to individual wheels and brought itself back into line.
In the end, the pole is what killed Jenny. That power pole was very close to the edge of the road. It gave little room for recovery if you drift out of your traffic lane. If the pole had have been shifted well back off the road, if it had have been undergrounded, then Jenny would have simply gone through the fence and into the paddock in that situation. And Jenny probably would have survived.
That's a total of 6 different risk factors eliminated from a single crash, each one reducing the risk of serious injury or death. If all that was done, Jenny would be alive, her son would be back playing footy again next week, and her toddler Toby would grow up knowing his mum. For the human factors in our roading system, realising we all make mistakes and accepting that our bodies have a very limited ability to withstand force. It asks how roads and roadsides can be made more forgiving of human error. It looks at how our vehicles can save lives and reduce harm. And it ensures the speeds we travel are appropriate for the roads we drive and for the other people who use those roads, like pedestrians and cyclists.